Welcome back! So, as the preview indicated, I am going to be doing some leather goods. Now, you saw some of the process in the video last week, but we're really going to get into it this week. I want to do like hair on hide, so it's still going to have the hair on it. I'm going to cut into that, I'm going to make some designs. I think we're going to go Celtic, and I'm going to include some material. Now, one of the materials that I want to use is an embossed grain. So it has this black, it's middle hide, so it's not as high as quality as you can get, but it's got this snake skin texture in it. And I want to kind of go with hair on versus the snake texture and see how that's going to play. So let's get into it. So we're going to start by smoothing it out, but now I need to make a design. So for this, I decided to go with a Celtic design. Now the easiest way to make a transferable piece if it has a repeating pattern is by taking a piece of paper and kind of doing a snowflake method. So for this, I've gone ahead and roughly traced it out, and then I decided to fold it up to get even marks. I'm going to refine my lines. For here, I've used my template as the top of my favorite smelling candle, and I'm going to go back and just define my edges, my lines, my curves, so that I know for sure what kind of pattern I want to copy. Now with the multiple layers, because there are 4 layers of paper, I did have to cut harder. Here is the final snowflake result. I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. It kind of has a pixie link kind of feel, but not what I was going for. But I think it turned out pretty well. All right. Now I very gently transferred it onto the material earlier to figure out where I wanted to fit so that it would be centered on the design. Now here I'm going to place it, and then I will go ahead and draw out where exactly I need to start designing into the hair on hide. I now have everything placed out, so I'm going to go ahead and slowly cut into the leather. I'm using a scalpel and pushing down on the fur as I'm cutting so that it will only cut the layers of hair that I want. So some hair will be completely removed and some hair will be just cut. This is a very tedious process. It took me a few hours to get this done, but we'll just fast forward so that you don't have to sit through all of it. Now, if you're doing this yourself, just keep in mind that these are sharp and you can cut yourself. And as I said earlier, it can hurt. Now I'm going to go through and detail. Now the easiest way to get the hair, if it's stuck like it was here, is to push down and pull down and cut the root of the hair. Now because this is hair and hide and it has been processed, you're not going to damage the leather by cutting little micro cuts. But deeper cuts will cut through the leather, so be careful if you decide to do this yourself. I'm going ahead and detailing the design. Originally, I wasn't going to cut out underneath, but I think it's really going to make it pop and make it an interesting design from far away. Alright, now that I have that finished, I will be measuring out the back piece for the other side of the purse. Now, officially, I did make a pattern for this and I cut out using that pattern. For the sake of the video, I've gone ahead and done a segment where I basically use the original pattern to cut out, just showing the 2 textures that will be used and kind of giving you a sneak peek, because I don't believe I'll be able to finish this all in one video, so you can at least see what the textures look like together. So here is the back piece, the bottom piece, and the gussets. We're going to turn all of this into our bag with magic. Oh, we're going to sew it. So initially I prepped the bottom and the first side piece by punching the holes. I'm going to be using waxed thread to attach the sides to the bottom. This is not typically how you'll see bags prepared, but for this design, I wanted everything to be done by hand. My current machines aren't really up to the job, and I wanted to make sure that my lines were clean, and this kind of had a more medieval feel to it. So I wanted everything to be done by hand. I'm now going to repeat this for the other side. And now it's locked in place. This is my favorite part of using wax thread. My husband ran into the room when I started doing this, but you're going to take, in my case, a rawhide mallet, and you're just going to push down to really lock the thread into place. Really spread the wax out to keep it from moving. Yep, that's a good seam. All right, the next step is going to be taking the gusset side pieces and clipping them together. And then I'm going to use my hole punch on the smallest setting to create even spacing for my threading to go. This, like almost everything else, is a very tedious process, so I went ahead and sped it up for you. You'll start to see all of the little black dots that popped out when that's all the leather that I have punched out of the original piece. This whole project was very messy, and my desk is covered in hair, small black holes, and bits of thread. All right, I'm going to take the same method I used earlier with the waxed thread, and I'm going to sew the sides of the gusset together. In previous designs, I've done this on the outside to showcase a crisscross X pattern, but in this case, I want most of it to be hidden away and be a secret that the bag owner knows about and will be a cool rough edge. I'm not going to be lining the bag because I think that this whole bag has a very cool and unrefined but refined feeling to it, so I want you to be able to see all the work that's gone into it. All right, just locking the final threads into place, and then I'll repeat on the other side. This step is important because it really defines the curve on the bottom of the bag, and if I don't get this right, it's going to look clumpy. Time for my favorite again, hammer time! There we go. This is going to be the inside pocket. Although we're not lining the bag, I wanted to create a pocket for keys, small items, something you don't want to necessarily lose, because there's not going to be a top closure on this bag. So I start by originally cutting out the shape of the fabric that I want, matching it to the zipper, and tacking it into place. Now with this, we're going to go ahead and just sew along the top line. finish off my seam. I'm gonna open the zipper. That way I can get a really good close edge. I've already folded over the edges of the top of the fabric to make a really clean look, but I want to make sure that I have the best lines. Now, a good zipper, in my opinion, if it's made of fabric, has a little bit of coverage to potentially hide the zipper, but not get locked in the teeth. You can see here I have the line from the other side. This will be the inside. You will not see this side of the bag once it's complete. And I'll just cut off the fabric. There we go. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and get the next side ready. So for this, I'm going to be turning the bag inside out, or right side out for this one, and sewing a top line to cover the top of the zipper. Now when this step is complete, I'm going to be sewing the side lines off. I did this off camera just because it was going to be a lot to record, and I didn't want to bore you guys with that. Now that it's done and the sides have been sewn up, it's inside out, so I need to carefully pull the zipper open to create a big enough opening to turn it inside out. Little adjustments, gotta pull some of the hair from the outside of the bag. And there we go. Here's our inside pocket. Next thing we're going to do is, as we sew the two top pieces of the front, we're going to keep in mind sewing in the pocket. So I went ahead and I sewed together the black top and the Celtic design together. And now I'm going to attach the zipper lining using that seam that I created. Now, because I use the wax canvas, it's a more durable thread, and I can thread in my regular sewing fabric thread to attach the zipper without it causing damage or strain on the outside bag. If you used a regular weight or even an outdoor thread, it might not be thick enough, but because it's locked into place for every single stitch, it will hold up well. Alright, this will be the final step for this week's video. I'm just sewing the gusset of the bag to the front. Now you can see I'm doing a design because it was really cool to be able to see the white and the black against each other. So when the bag is opened, I want you to be able to look in and see these cool stitches. So this method is the same method I've been using for the gusset and the bottom, which gusset is the side, but I've added a loop on top. And that's not really going to do anything other than aesthetically kind of hold it all together and just make it a very clean look. Now it is important to pull through the stitches to really lock that in place. Otherwise you're going to have loose stitching and it may not look good, or it may open and have gaps. So this is where we're at. I think we're gonna end the video here for today. I want to really get into the details of this thing next week. We still have to do the other side of the bag. It was only partially completed on this side. And then we're gonna do the top to give a strap, and then we can flip this inside out and see what we're actually working with here. So stay tuned. Next week we will go ahead and finish this up and reveal all the goodness in here. See you next time. Bye.